We are recording as well. Okay, so it looks like they are going to. Um, okay, there we go. All right, so we are live and we also are streaming. My battery is plugged in, so we should be okay. That's the hope, is that we can get through this whole day, the next 2 hours, and take care of business and give you guys some information that will allow you to be hopeful, to have a clear vision on where we're going and what to expect. And let me get this ready for you guys right here first. And with that, I'm going to get started. So, the purpose of the National Block Club University Fourth Saturday Summit is, just as I was saying earlier, is it allows us to do um, an audit of everything we did in the last 30 days. So, what I need to do right now is do roll call. Before I do roll call, I want to explain something to you guys. We've been doing something called, okay, see, they have me on here live in two places, so that's a problem. There it is. Okay, good. So we've been doing something called twice a year solution. Twice a year solution. And twice a year solution was designed because of the hamster wheel theory. What I was finding was that our people, with so many different things happening to us, we were in meeting after meeting after meeting. We was constantly on this hamster wheel going around in circles, and we talking for over 20 years. Been seeing some of the same people in the same meetings. And the question is, are we really moving the needle? Where are we going? And so the twice a year solution was created with the idea that we need to treat the trauma that we're going through as Black people, and we need to have time to be able to enjoy life and not be in a constant state of battle, a constant state of pain, and a constant state of anger. And so, allowing us 10 months without all the meetings and all the stuff that we're doing to fight back, it allows us just to fight back every 6 months, twice a year. And so that's what the twice a year solution is. It looks at all the last names, it grouped together certain last names and says, okay, if you cover this month, this group would cover the next month, this group would cover the next month. So what it ultimately does, it allows Black people to be organized based on the A through Z last name structure, to where you won't burn out. And that to me is royalty, is royalty, because there are some groups doing some wonderful stuff in the community, but um, they're a few people away from dissolving, because they don't have the younger people involved. So it's just a matter of time before the elders transition and that organization stops. Or you got the organizations that's going very hard, and again, it's tearing down the marriage or the relationship because one of the members is going so hard, doing 60-70% of the work. You see this in the small churches a lot. So the bottom line, we needed something that would allow us to not burn people out, to be able to have sustainability built into it. And so that's what the every 6 month, twice a year solution does. So with this being the summit, I'm about to do the roll call here. What this allowed us to do is to know who we can expect to be on these calls, or the, in this case, Zooms, based on the last name solution. So for this month, every January, and 6 months later, July, only those 2 months out the year, we ask last names A through E, A through E, to be a part of the Zoom, the conference, do everything. I'm gonna talk about that in depth a little bit throughout this video, but I wanted to make sure that you guys knew why we do the summit and what it is, why we do it, and why you don't see a lot of people on. Today, I'm running the whole show. So I have no speakers lined up. It'll be me doing all of it. So hopefully you guys will be able to take great notes and benefit from this. So first and foremost, we go through roll call. Um, so we have 20 zip codes. That's our everything we do is based on these 20 Chicago zip codes. And some cities don't have 20 zip codes where Black people are the dominant group. So this is a significant resource that we had to have 20 zip codes where Black people are significant, if not the dominant group in that zip code. So we had 6 zip codes on the west side of Chicago, 6 zip codes on the south side, and 8 zip codes on the east side. That covers Black Chicago. Chicago is the third largest city in America, um, second to LA and New York, and that's in the US. The US is fourth place in the largest countries in the world. We're behind Canada. Canada is behind China. China is behind Russia. Those are the largest countries in the world. 6.5 million square miles for Russia. We're 3.6 and Canada is 3.7. Just to give you guys context. So we're going to start with 60612 zip code. That zip code, and I had to watch the time, you guys. It's 4:07. I can see the time, so that helps. Roll call started at it's 3:05, 3:07 your time. It started at 3:05. By 3:10, we're gonna switch over to good news. So anyway, 60612 East Garfield Park. That zip code is linked to Ghana in Africa. It's linked to Waukegan, Illinois. It's linked to Boston, Massachusetts, and it is called East Garfield Park in Chicago. Byron Dickens is our lead for that zip code. His last name is Dickens, so ideally he'll be on today. We won't bug him again until July. 60623 zip code is linked to Senegal in Africa. It's linked to North Chicago, Illinois. It's linked to Los Angeles, California, and it's led by Eric Sutherland. He's the governor of that zip code. Then we have zip code 60624, also on the west side. It's linked to Sierra Leone in Africa. It's linked to Great Lakes, Illinois. It's linked to Atlanta, Georgia, and it's led by Sandra Brinson in 60624, called Garfield Park. Then we have 60639. It's linked to Nigeria in Africa. It's linked to Highland Park, Illinois. It's linked to Memphis, Tennessee. It's linked to and it's led by Tiffany Taylor. That's our superstar there. Sorry about that. Tiffany is the governor for that zip code for us. Then we have 60644 zip code. It's linked to Cote d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast in Africa. It's linked to Winnetka, one of the richest suburbs in America, in Illinois. It's linked to St. Louis, Missouri, and it's linked to and it's led by Rob, last name Witcher. So then we had the last one on the west side of 60651 zip code. It's linked to Western Sahara in Africa. It's linked to Kenilworth, Illinois, another wealthy zip code in North Chicago land area. It's linked to Birmingham, Alabama, and is linked to and is led by Kernitha Jones in Chicago, and that's both West Humboldt Park neighborhood, but it's also Austin. Then we move to the south side. The south side is 60609 zip code. That is called the well. Let me go through the same format. It's linked 60609 is linked to Ethiopia in Africa. It's linked to Aurora, Illinois. It's linked to Detroit, Michigan. And then it's led by Ken Atwood. He's our zip code leader for 60609. And then we move to 60620. That is linked to Egypt in Africa. It is linked to Lisle, Illinois. Here it's linked to Norfolk, Virginia, the largest naval base in the world. It's linked to and is led by Francis Newman. That's the zip code leader. And 60621 zip code is Inglewood. It is led by or it is connected to Sudan, and we claim both Sudan and also South Sudan. Is linked to Hinsdale, Illinois. It is linked to New York City, and the leader for that zip code is Chastity Freeman. And the next one is 60629 zip code. That's Marquette Park. For those who don't know, this is the neighborhood that was so racist that Dr. King was hit in the head with a brick in this zip code back in the 60s. It is linked to Djibouti in Africa. It is linked to Clarendon Hills, Illinois. It's linked to Washington, D.C., and is led by Tracy Thomas, 60629 zip code. Then we have 60636, which is linked to Somalia in Africa. It's linked to Naperville, Illinois. It's linked to San Diego, California, and is led by Governor Denise King. And the last one for the South Side is 60652 zip code. It is linked to Kenya in Africa. It is linked to um, LaGrange, Illinois. It's linked to St. Paul, Minnesota, and is led by Brittany Corners, 60652 zip code called Ashburn neighborhood. Then we move to the last 8, which is the east side, and we have 60615 zip code. That zip code is called Kenwood, Washington Park, High Park. It is linked to Congo in Africa. It's linked to Bensenville, Illinois. It is linked to New Orleans, Louisiana, and Governor Joe Murrows is our leader for that zip code. Then we have 60617. It's linked to Tanzania in Africa. It is linked to Itasca, Illinois. It's linked to Kansas City, Missouri, and is led by Chrissy Williams. 60617 is called Calumet Heights neighborhood in Chicago. Then we have 60619 zip code. It's linked to Angola in Africa. It is linked to River Grove, Illinois. It's linked to Philadelphia, and is linked to and it's called Chatham, 60619 Chatham, led by Governor Erica Dunn. Then we have 60628 zip code. It's linked to South Africa. It's linked to Schaumburg, Illinois. Is linked to Dallas, Texas, and is led by Charles Robinson, 60628, and that neighborhood is called Pullman, West Pullman, and Roseland. Then we have 60637 zip code. This is linked to Zimbabwe in Africa. It is linked to Elgin, Illinois, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and is linked to and is led by Governor Claudette Reddick, 60637 Woodlawn zip code. Then we have 60643 zip code. It is linked to Botswana in Africa. It is linked to Bartlett, is the suburb. It's linked to Cleveland, Ohio, and is led by Diana Barnes in 60643 zip code. Then we have 60649. Today is their day. It is linked to Zambia in Africa, Hanover Park, Illinois, Miami, Florida, and is led by Rachel Lindsay, 60649, called South Shore neighborhood. The last one is 60653 zip code. It is linked to Nibia in Africa. It's linked to Franklin Park, Illinois. It's linked to Gary, Indiana, and is led by Echo and Uwegowe, I believe. Uwegowe. I can spell it better than I can pronounce it. Echo is a carpenter, so she's putting in the work here in this country. And that's the linkage for all 20 zip codes. So I know that was a lot. Wanted to make sure I went through that so that you can write that down, whatever your zip code is or your family member zip code, because that's important to know that. The good news, since last month, which we met, which was December, we have so much happening. We have a new president sworn in. Things didn't go well at first, but the new president is in. It's a totally different administration, and what that boils down to me, is we're going to see things be different. Different isn't always good, so I'm not cheering that everything's going to be better because of government. I am cheering because the fact is our community is getting more and more united, more and more coordinated, and that gives me the greatest hope more than what government does. But that's part of the good news. Last month, we was awarded a $500 grant from the Chicago Opportunity for Peace in Action organization. based out of Evanston, Illinois. That money immediately was used to help keep operations going, but also half of that was used for our young people, kindergarten through 12th grade awards. So you'll be seeing the pictures of the youngsters winning money in particular. And we know that's a big part of what we do. 40% is about the young people competing and winning money. So that was part of the good news. The other good news is we raised, and I'll talk about this more in the economic section, we raised more money than we did the previous year. We topped the $5,000 mark, and it's because of you. So I can't express the gratitude to know that our 12 months of work did better than the previous 12 months. That's good. Got a lot of room to get better, but you take your wins, and that was a win for us. So I appreciated that good news as well. Um, so that's where we at. Now is the time for us to talk about rural towns. For those who don't know, Mississippi is 37% black. No other state has that degree of black people in it. The reason that matters is there's about 8 states that are 90% white. So for anyone who say, why do you care about black states? Well, it's 9 states that's 90% white. So that tells you, can we have one, and that's important when you think about just what a community and culture can be like when the people in that area is on the same page culturally, and that allows them to be more unified. In our community, black people often have to shift gears based on when they're around different groups because they don't want to offend people or possibly even be um, apprehended or attacked. So we always have to be able to switch gears in a heartbeat. So to have a place where we're 90% black, we wouldn't have to do that much switching. We could be our organic self 24/7. So anyway, Mississippi is important to us because Mississippi puts us in a position where we can have a state that from the top to the bottom of the state, you're going to see black people at almost 40%. That's a big, big number, meaning Mississippi has 2.8 million people. So almost 50%, which would be 1.4 million, is almost black. That's a big deal. There's a million black people in Mississippi now. So we hope to continue to invest. This is where your nickels to Mississippi matter. And if you don't know about that, we'll talk about that toward the end when we talk about revenue as a whole. We have Northwest Mississippi, which is linked to farming in Mount Bayou, Mississippi. We have Northeast Mississippi, which is linked to Macon, and that's our manufacturing. Then we have Southeast Mississippi, Hattiesburg, and we want that to be our training headquarters. Then we got Southwest Mississippi, which is where Jackson is, and we want that to be our administration sub headquarters. Gary, Indiana is our administrative headquarters for the whole U.S. And we want Mississippi to report to Gary from South, if you will, administration. This month, we will focus on Clarksdale, Mississippi. I have nothing to report in terms of being able to make any connections in Clarksdale. I need help, you guys. And this is, if we could have met a Davis, a Ellis, a Banks, a Baxter, anyone last name A through B, or anyone, that would have been productive for us because we're going to now go a whole nother year without reaching someone in Clarksdale unless you find someone who you can connect us with. We also, this month, January, spent time in San Diego. Same thing, didn't make any new contacts in the last 23 days in San Diego. We still got 8 days left. So if you know someone in San Diego, we would love to connect with them. That's the purpose of what we're doing here. And then Somalia in Africa. That's where we on tour at in Africa. So no connections there. We on the good news side as well, we started our conventions with Sister Kay Abrams out of Gary, Indiana. So that's going to be a big deal as well going forward. All right, so let me pause, give you guys 1 minute intermission, and we're going to come right back. All right, you guys, I am back. And so now it's time for us to talk about safety. Um, for those who don't know, we have 8 teams, teams 1 through 8. Team number 3 is our safety team. And I can't tell you what a big disappointment has been to close out last year with so many people who've been shot and killed. Let me mute the live over here. Okay. So what appears to have happened based on police chiefs all around the country is they believe Corona is what led to more murders in their cities. From DC to Memphis to Chicago. Chicago had the most murders than any other place, 761 murders. Second was Philadelphia, 463 murders. But every state, I mean, every one of our cities, St. Louis topped their murders, DC topped their murders from the year 10 years before. And in each of these cities are one political party. And so it's easy to see how the thinking could be driven a certain way because it's a political party at play in all these inner cities. What National Block Club University believe is that the remedy isn't going to come from government. The bottom line, government is a bureaucracy because you have two parties. Two parties have to have their say so. So instead of having a group of people that will agree and press forward, you got people who will oppose each other because of political affiliation. So instead of us getting caught up in that, we'll leverage government, but we don't think government is going to stop the violence. What's going to stop the violence is the people and the habits of the people, the schedule, how they use time, and their network, who they're connected to. HSN, we call it, habit schedule network. That's what's going to really allow us to turn this violence around. But Atlanta had a 10-year high in murders, and the city council was talking about what they can do about stopping it. We did send some correspondence to them to try to get them to sit down and learn about the concept and how we stop violence. And that didn't go too well. I'm still hopeful, so I won't say too much more than that. But I met red tape. We met bureaucracy, and that's unfortunate when you have a state of emergency like what Atlanta is going through with the violence. We also met resistance in other cities as well, and so we're used to this in this one party that controls inner cities and how you access the people you pay your salary to. So again, on the violence side, is unfortunate. It went higher in almost every jurisdiction that we're in, and the solution is not in sight to those politicians, those churches, those community leaders. And but what I want you to rest assured is we know exactly what it's going to take to stop this killing out here, and it boils down to a A through Z approach. Every person, every guy that's in the streets, every drug dealer, you name it, has a A through Z last name. That's important, meaning that's inclusive. It includes everyone, A to Z. The next thing is, are you in position to, once you hear what A through Z person cares about, are you in position to link them, network them together with layers of support, with people who can help them be all that they can be? And that's what the government just don't have. And that's what we have. And that's why I'm confident that once you guys fund us, we're going to be able to deal with this violence, and not just that, but see whole neighborhoods turn whole and vibrant as a result of this process, HSN. We have 122 carjackings already in Chicago in just 21 days. Totally unacceptable. And so right now, there are people doing gas station patrols, and that's commendable that they care and they're going to do that. What our philosophy is, National Block Club University, there's a gas station network. And inside that gas station network, we'll love to see the gas stations pool their resources together. Ultimately, it's their property, and help finance that. We'll love to see the evaluations showing how much those gas stations have given back. We don't want to let them off the hook. And then we also want to see our Team 3 leaders, safety, out there on their every 6-month duty, just lingering on some positive loitering. And unlike this group that's doing it, if our troops was out there, they would be resources as well as discourage. They're going to discourage violence, but they also as a magnet to whoever they talk to, be able to connect them into HSN, which is habit schedule network to make their life better. So until we have the full funding we need, we'll continue to see pop-ups, people popping up doing what they can to mitigate these challenges that's in front of us versus what we're promoting, which is a coordinated, well integrated strategy to not just deal with that, but 108 other issues at the same time. We also had started this month our conventions out of Gary, Indiana. So we had our missing persons convention last week. You can check my YouTube channel and you'll be able to see the guests we had on that spoke about our missing persons and unsolved cases. Very informative meeting. I do suggest if you have time that you go and look at that because it's a big deal. The number of women, children that's missing, and what we could be doing to make it more difficult for these perpetrators to do what they're doing right now. The last thing is the internal review of the police. So we know with the January 6th insurrection, takeover of the Capitol, um, the white supremacists, the weak white-minded men who feel threatened and feel like they rather shatter the whole government than to share it, those spirits, um, we found that they were inside police departments, they were inside fire departments, they were school teachers, they were in the military. So what the FBI had to do was to look inside their own ranks, law enforcement ranks, not just the FBI, and try to check and see if any of their people were sharing, um, views that is race based, that is derogatory based on people's race. And so, what I hope will happen as a result of that is police departments all over this nation, in particular, because we've had too many unarmed Black people killed, police departments will follow the federal government and start to document and be transparent about members of their force who are racist, who hate other races, who feel like other races don't deserve equal playing footing, equal footing with them. And I think that's a good move to make because you start to weed out those type of mindsets. So we're gonna on our end, we're gonna make certain that we have our own tracking and that we try to encourage the police department to keep us abreast of whoever they find, if it's legal, who they find that is questionable. Okay, so that's my safety report. Last thing is the missing persons and the vacant buildings. So Gary, Indiana, Detroit, some of our inner cities that the factory jobs went away in have a lot of vacant structures. And the argument and the debate is, do we keep a structure vacant but board it up, or do we tear it down? And so the argument can go either way, because if you tear it down, then someone can get a fresh start. If you just board it up, then you can play cat and mouse game with people taking the boards off. You put them up, they take them off. So I always defer back to what do the people who live in that area think. So I think whatever we decide, it needs to go by block in that vicinity and see what they say, making sure that they hear both sides of the argument so they can make the decision that they're gonna have to live with. The other thing, next month you're gonna hear me speak about the Love Our Elders Friday campaign. The Love Our Elders. Every Friday is Seniors Day. With all these carjackings and all this misbehavior of the people living in our neighborhood, a good psychological reason they do this is because they feel like they can get away with it. They have a certain amount of being anonymous, and that allows them to be confident and striking. The more we speak to each other, engage each other, interact with each other, it does a certain amount of tamping down. Of course, you're going to have those hard-nosed people who's going to do it anyway. But right now, we're giving carte blanche access to do carjackings and anything else you want to do because we put our head down, mind our own business, and that feeds right into the the criminals or perpetrators what they want to do. So what we're gonna do is at least ask the people on the block to identify their elders and then try to do something special for them on Fridays. What this does, this gets the block moving. It moves it toward more vibrancy versus isolation, where everyone just coming and going doing their own thing. When you get neighbors interacting with each other, it make criminals uncomfortable. All right. So we want to in February talk about that and push that so that people can start taking back the spiritual part of their blocks and neighborhoods. Vacant buildings, sex offenders, vacant buildings. Um, every Monday is safety day. So on Mondays, a big thing we promote is that you just go to Google, you type in your zip code and ask for sex offenders. So that way, every week you have an up-to-date view on who are the perpetrators in your zip code, so you can be more aware. Awareness is key. Now, missing persons, and we talked about this during the missing persons 3-day summit. It's so much that we can do to create a force field. And what that means is number one, do you know the neighbor on the left and right of you, in front of you, and back of you? Do you know them? If you do know them, do they have your number? You have their number. It's real simple. That's your force field in front and back, left and right. What this does, it again gets neighbors interacting and talking. Can't stress that enough what that does. The second thing, it gives you more confidence to go on the offense. Too many of our communities all over the nation has retreated to inside our fence, inside our house. So whatever happens outside of that, oh well. Well, guess what? Those idle minds that will workshop, so they out there working and they're gonna keep encroaching because that's the name of the game. It's about power, dominance, and control. So as long as you retreat, now you're on the defense versus being on the offense. When we launched the Love Our Elders Friday campaign, you're going on the offense. You're coming out of your house and now you're hitting the block, and that will put them on the defense. It's the same when we talk about our missing persons, because if you see a vulnerable child with a grown person and they look scared, they look like they don't belong, do you know what to do? And what National Block Club University says is every one of our zip codes have a once a month meeting. Every one of them. You don't be in this network without a meeting. There's flyers to every meeting. So I always have 3 or 4 flyers printed so that if you see a young person look like they being trafficked, you can engage the guy or the girl in charge as well as that person just by inviting them out to the next meeting. This is the easiest way, the non-confrontational way of being able to engage. And that's key because you'll be able to tell if they don't want to be bothered or if they open. And if they open, go further, but the bottom line, we wanted a reason to engage, and that once a month meeting is the reason to engage. And then you just take it from there. And if it's at a place where you feel like you can't handle it, then you call us 312-405-8844. And we're used to jumping in and adding our 2 cents to any community engagement type conversation. All right. So sorry about this. I went over here. Um, I went way over. So I'm gonna have to speed up. So that's what we want to do. Create your force field, get to know the neighbors, always have your flyers ready to engage any person who look like they're being trafficked so that you can kind of see where to go from there. Let your spirit direct you whether or not you should involve the authorities. All right. So that's what we want to do. Vacant buildings. We want a record of that. If you got a vacant building on your block, text that address to 312-405-8844. 312-405-8844. And I'm going to stop here on the safety. I'm going to come back in 2 minutes and we're going to talk about the young people. Then we go get ready to switch all the way over at 3:40 to economic development. All right. Thank you, guys. All right, back to our summit here. Now we're gonna switch gears and talk about our young people, and then in 2 minutes I'm gonna switch over so we can get on economic development. What I want to say about the young people is the awards that we do that I'm gonna spend more time talking about during the 4 o'clock time frame. The awards is the real way, you guys, that we want to get our young people inspired. The young people are in a microwave society, instant gratification. So winning money matters in terms of where society is right now with them winning. But what's more important is that we wrap around them layers of support. And the layers of support will put us in a position where we can have their attention, because unfortunately we don't have their attention because of all this information coming at them. Travel is key, and I want to make sure we know how important travel is. When we get these young people physically going to other places and cities, this is a big deal, because what it does, it broadens their thinking. And a lot of times, until they come back home, they can't appreciate it in the moment. So with the young people, more resources are going to be going for the awards, making sure that they win incentives for academic excellence, but also making sure that they can get around their region. So we got 7 regions: Gary, Chicago, Atlanta, GCA region. We got Detroit, St. Louis, Milwaukee. That's a region. We got Dallas, Memphis. That's the region. KSC is Kansas City, St. Paul and Cleveland. That's a region. We got LS, that's LA and San Diego is a region. So in each of these regions, young people being able to travel is key inside those regions. MBN region is Miami, Birmingham, and New Orleans. So just know that the young people are going to be more well-rounded as they travel inside their region and inside other regions. It just broadens their whole perspectives. So now we talked about several items. We talked about Mississippi. We talked about safety. We talked about young people. Now it's time to talk about economics. Now, I'm gonna tell you guys, I'm excited with a lot of rotation and change that's happened economically. You heard me when I first came on. I was telling you about how well we did last year with raising more money than the previous year. That's always a good thing. Our financial philosophy is $1 a month. Excuse me, $12 a year, $1 a month, 4 quarters a month, 48 quarters a year. We've been doing that for 26 years. And the reason why we stuck to that is because we think it's doable. And what matters when you talk about bringing Black people together is whatever you're asking them to come together on, is it practical? Is it doable? And we believe $12 a year is doable. So we're going to stick to that. And when we have 40 million Black people, or half of that, 20 million of us doing $1 a month, it's $20 million a month. That can move some things, that can change some things, and that's without burning out people, because we understand $1 a month isn't gonna hurt them. So right now we're gonna talk about from 340 to 345. We're gonna talk about where we're going when it comes to this and how it all ties together. So right now we have $12 a year. We have loose change for global change, and loose change for global change is quarters stay in your zip code. So there's no debating about taking care of home. Your dimes go to your sister city. The reason we want to put money into our sister cities is so that we can unify, so we can trust each other. And when you're putting money into another city, that helps when it comes to trusting each other. And so that's why your dimes matter. 100 dimes, 4 quarters. The reason your nickels matter, 20 nickels. I said 100 dimes, 10 dimes. I'm sorry. 10 dimes is all $1. 10 dimes, $1. 4 quarters, $1. 20 nickels, $1. So your nickels matter because we need, as Black people, we need a repository. We need a place where we can have our people who are trying to, strive and get better, but are financially hurting, that we have a state where they can go to and be built up. And we think Mississippi is that state. So your 20 nickels go to support Mississippi, and then your 100 pennies, which is $1, go to support your sister country in Africa. Everyone in this country, in the U.S., either have their their ethnicity's last name, or they and are connected and go back home every now and then. The black people here are the only ones, the descendants of slave, who've been cut off. So we still carry our slave owner's last name, and we've been cut off from Africa. So what we did is artificially align 20 African countries to 20 Chicago zip codes and 20 US cities. And if we, in the spirit of just unity, if we just adopt that, support that, we're going to see a more unified Africa and African Americans because of the 100 pennies idea. So anyway, that's on the economic side. It's called Loose Change for Global Change. Loose Change for Global Change. Now, and you might want to write this down. Gary, Indiana is a city. 8 out of 10 people is black. Mississippi is the blackest state. Gary City, state in the Union. Georgia is the third largest state for black people at 32%, behind Louisiana. So it's Mississippi, Louisiana, Georgia, blackest states in the Union. DC is not a state, so we can't add them. So anyway, when we talk about economics and development, we want to see black people involved in real estate everywhere. Those three places I just named is pivotal because Mississippi is the cheapest state in the land, and Gary, Indiana, unfortunately, has the cheapest, most affordable real estate. So we want to give Gary a reason for everyone to invest in Gary, and our conventions are that reason. The conventions are the biggest economic development tool that we have to turn a city that 8 out of 10 people is black around. Gary, Indiana. Mississippi, the state, is our repository where we're going to be able to pull from and deposit in our people who need change, who need backup, who need a fresh, clean break. They're going to be our port of entry, the state of Mississippi, for all our people coming from Africa. So what I'm sharing with you guys is a vision on how the money is going to move. Now, once we declare this, agree to it, and finance it, that means now we're going to have to install our transportation. You're going to see shuttles moving from Mississippi on up, from Georgia on up to Gary and Chicago, and vice versa, because we got to use, it's called ITR. That's the jobs of the future for black people: information, travel, and real estate. Travel and real estate go hand in hand together. The information is everything: information acquisition jobs, information processing jobs, information management jobs, information storing jobs, information actualization jobs. So information is something that we have, and we're going to process, acquire, you name it, to create jobs where you don't have to go into the suburbs and get pulled over by racist police. So the information is going to create the jobs that allow you to travel. And because you are involved in real estate, that's your third stream of income. So we feel ITR is right there to turn the economics around in Black life. So I went a little bit over. That's the future. Next month in February for economic development, you're going to hear me talk about the Propel Center that's here in Atlanta, Georgia, $25 million. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about how corporate America is still, because of George Floyd, trying to put revenue and resources behind our community, which is a good thing. So let me break here. Let me talk about this real quick. Then I'm gonna break. We'll come back and talk about construction under the economic development banter. So before I break, if you are a business that is making $25 a day, all right, that is a $6,000 a year business. If you are a business making $100 a day, then you're a $24,000 a year business. $300 a day, you're a $72,000 a year business. 500 a day, you're a $120,000 a year business. $1,000 a day, you're a $240,000 a year business. 3,000 a day, you're a $720,000 a year business. And if you have $5,000 a day, you're at $1.2 million a year business. So I just wanted to deposit that. What we are doing right now, we're doing a $5 holler. So we have black businesses who before were isolated doing their own thing. Now they're inside groups, and inside the groups, they're taking turns sending $5 to each other. When people laugh at that, I say, you just don't see the bigger picture. What the $5 represent is a token, but it's a token that adds up. If you got 100 people sending you $5, you have 1,000 people sending you $5. That's a big deal. Some of our businesses are making $300 a whole day. So when you think about that, that's $6,000 a month. So if you got 1,000 people sending you $5, you just equated all of what you made. And that $5 that came, it wasn't with stress, because that $5 is not going to hurt them, but it allows them to sow into your business to grow or keep you ahead. The last thing is the 20 Blocks United to launch the overhead protection program. What this is getting 20 blocks around your business to agree to make sure you don't close down. Black businesses closing hurts us from a safety standpoint as well as an economic standpoint. So we want to do what we can to reduce two of the three biggest expenses. Staffing is always the biggest. Rent, utilities is a part of it, and inventory. So we're not worried about inventory, but the overhead protection will come in the form of helping a black business with rent, utilities, or staffing. Inventory you on your own with. So that's it. Let's take a break here. When we come back, we're going to switch over and talk about construction in 1 minute. Give us 1 minute here. All right, all right, all right. Thank you guys sticking with me here. So construction. And I started off with the economic development telling you about Gary, Indiana, and Mississippi. The reason Gary matters so much, Detroit matters, Cleveland. In the North, a lot of jobs that were manufacturing, those factories are closed down, technology overseas. All right, all right, all right. Thank you guys sticking with me here. So for the most part, information is the replacement for those jobs that were factory jobs. And the other piece is real estate. And so now when we think about real estate, when I say construction, we're not talking about major construction per se. We talking about carpenters rebuilding porches, roofers, HVAC, welders. We're talking about even people who work with their hands like mechanics. The key is How do we make sure that we have a pipeline as Black people so that we can have sustainability? How do we make sure that our people who are in these crafts have a strong, robust administration that keeps them on top of the regulatory side, that keeps them involved with the marketing, and makes certain that someone is always answering the phone and answering the door? And this is what we have to build, because it's happening in pockets and silos. We need a national strategy, and that's what I love about this summit. It allows me to share with you what we're doing from a national perspective. So we do have a list. I always tell them it's what happened when Hurricane Katrina struck in August of 2005. I didn't know who had a list of all the Black carpenters by city and zip code, all the Black roofers, all the Black HVAC. Well, we have that now, and every day we're constantly trying to recruit and build it, make it stronger. And we're talking about even retirees, retired carpenters, retired roofers, retired HVAC, because we need them. They have a skill set. They don't have to be used for the physical anymore, but they have a network and they have history, and that matters. So Pete Buttigieg should be confirmed under the Biden administration as the U.S. Department of Transportation lead. One thing that I think both sides, Democrats, Republicans, are in agreement with is America needs to create jobs. And so a big push is infrastructure spending. And the Republicans may go along with this as long as they know it's going to put their people to work. So for Black people, if today Biden them said we have $1 trillion for you guys to go to work doing construction, are we ready? No, we're not ready. On your block, do you even know who are the carpenters, bricklayers, plumbers, welders, roofers, painters on your block? So we're not ready. That's why today matters so much, because we got to get ready. We need you to know that there's a process, which is just text 312-405-8844, 312-405-8844. Text this number when you find anyone in construction. Just text their name and phone them if they're willing to give it to us, so we can continue to build this national database, so we can then move from the database to actual pipeline training. Okay. So in the meantime, because Buttigieg might be taking over no later than February 15th, I'm gonna read to you what we came up with. It's called Repair the Construction for Descendants of Slaves. Repair the Wrong Construction Act for descendants of slaves, not people of color, descendants of slaves. With the new Biden administration and a renewed focus on putting Americans back to work through infrastructure, to Blacks in America, this means every other ethnic group except us. Why? Because our pipeline for construction is almost non existent. What will the Biden administration do about this? Number one, acknowledge the government's role in the Black male plight. As President Biden said the day before inauguration, January 19th, at the DC Reflecting Pool, to heal, we must remember. Now, Black people know firsthand, this country haven't even really apologized for slavery. So to heal, we must remember. So we can't be being told, y'all still talking about slavery. That was a long time ago. Wait a minute. To heal, we must remember. That's what Biden said, January 19th. Number two, review all institutional barriers erected by the government and create mitigations for every one of these barriers. And these barriers are everything from nonviolent offenses, where you got more time for crack cocaine than powder cocaine, child support, where you lose your driving privileges, housing restrictions, you name it. All these barriers that was erected, that really kept Black people, Black men in particular, at the bottom. Number three, evaluate all gatekeeping institutions close to the affected population. The reason this matters is a lot of times people think they're doing good. They think they're doing well, not knowing that they're really feeding the sheep to the fox. And so when you put money in Black neighborhoods, gatekeepers exist. Gatekeepers look like us, but those gatekeepers are um, different classism. They had a different class. So therefore, some of them live in the suburbs. They're not affected by what the people in the neighborhood are affected by. So they look at it differently versus people in the trenches there with them. And what I'm saying is those are the unsung heroes. Those are the ones who need access to the funding to move the needle. If you continue to pour money into the gatekeepers, you're going to continue to see what you see now, which is gaps. So to close the gaps, we can't keep giving the money to the same structure. Fourth and the last one is fund the Detroit Chicago project. Detroit is our headquarters for all things dealing with construction. So that's why Detroit matters, and Chicago 60609 zip code manages that. So that's why the Detroit Chicago project exists, because it allows Chicago administration to run and manage the Detroit physical on the ground training for all 20 US cities. So fund the Detroit Chicago project to ensure recruitment, evaluation, and disbursement of resources that can take place throughout urban America. 20 cities will be able to be impacted through the Detroit Chicago project. This is a new infrastructure that organizes 167 neighborhoods to inspire, recruit, train, and promote all trade industries to Black people. Keyword, because too often we get caught up, and the Latino community is well organized and taking advantage of all type of people of color opportunity. We're saying Black people. We want to make it clear. The city of Gary, Indiana has $8.6 million about to be spent in construction. Are we in position to take advantage of that? And the chances are your answer was no. We want to make sure that you text us, any person in construction on your block, so we can talk to them and get them involved at a twice a year schedule, so they don't have to tell you I'm real busy every 6 months. That's it, every 6 months. So we take that excuse away. All right. So, all right, it's 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Central. It's time to switch over to education. We also, in education, we also talk about health. We're gonna go over some COVID numbers as well. And then we got policy coming up at 4:20, accountability, and then summary is at 4:40. We close out at 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern. So let's get in with the education first. Last month, we talked about the $300 a month that we give away for the K through 12th grade awards. And I heard feedback from people saying that's not enough. And I'll say it to you this way. Have you did your $12? Because if you haven't donated your $12, you're not in position to say if it's enough or not. The raw reality is it would take um, 40 people doing their $12, and my math is just totally off. But the bottom line is 100 people doing $12 is $1,200. So half of that is $600. So if you haven't done your 12, you're not in position to question the $300. The reason it's 300 is because we think we can make it to 300 every month, even if we have a bad month of donors coming in. That's, excuse me, that's why we have it set at 300. So that's to answer December's questions that I heard. Natasha Dunn is our superstar A through E, last name Dunn, for this month. Natasha does so much in our communities to help parents get more involved and have layers of support when it comes to education. So she is a superstar. I won't give her number out. If you guys need to reach her, the number you call is mine, that 312-405-8844 number. And I'll put you in touch with Natasha if you're in Chicago. If you're in any of the other cities, we'll be able to link you with who we know in that city as well. But this is why you hear me talk so much about recruiting. We can't have enough Natashas. We have to keep on meeting people who are in every field, so we'll have a plethora of people we can connect. Last month, we gave away money to first graders and 10th graders in particular. $100 went to the 10th grade university, and that was superstar Maya and Amani. They ended up splitting $50 a piece, and we have another competition taking place here today for 10th graders again. So if you have a 10th grader, again, 312-405-8844, connect with us so we can see about getting your child to compete academically with us again. All 10th graders are linked to Africa, so they study all 55 countries in Africa. That's what the 10th graders do. Next month in February, We're going to be teaching, um, talking about you going, anyone that wants to, going to Africa for 3 years, at a max of 3 years for kindergarten through third grade, fourth through sixth grade, seventh through eighth grade, or ninth through 12th grade. As with anything, who cares first? So if you care about potentially going to Africa, let us know. We want to get a pipeline established, a supply chain established of people who's open to that rotation, and then we'll take it from there. All right. So we also have want to talk about our linkages with the different grades, and I don't want to spend too much time there, because if you watch some of the older videos, you will see me talking about how all eighth graders are linked to barbers, all beauticians are linked to fourth graders, all nurses are linked to fifth graders. The purpose for that, just so you guys will know, is the structural racism that's happened to Black people. It's important to create a new structure, and that new structure is how we link relationships together so that everyone is covered. So when we link eighth graders with barbers, that makes sure that if an eighth grader needs something, we know who to go to. Lawyers also have eighth graders. So now we got two professions to go to in the village to get that eighth grader some help. We know electricians are linked to 11th graders. So the reason this matters, every grade being linked to different professions, is because structurally, from a structural racism perspective, relationships have been breached, broken, from the bonds of slavery to even now. And we needed to install our own relationship management, not one made by the people who oppressed us in the first place. That's why that matters so much. And kindergartner through 12th graders all have different professions linked to them structurally. So that's a big deal that I wanted to stress to you. Kansas City, Missouri is our headquarters across the 20 cities when it comes to teachers and education. So it's important that you know that as well. Then we move into the schools. So with COVID-19, some places have in-person schools, some places are doing all remote. What's important from National Black Color University standpoint when we talk about the schools is we want to have kindergarten TV through 12th grade TV via our Zooms. We want to do that. However, we don't want to start something we can't sustain. So worst case scenario, this would be something we hope to roll out in September of this year. But ideally, we'll be able to start it next month if you and the people you know all did their $12 and told everyone else to do their $12. We can fund this ourselves. But unfortunately, I got a feeling it's going to take the summer getting out there, talking to you guys and winning you guys over to helping us create this TV, this Zoom TV for every grade, having their own channel that pushes, promotes, and talks about every grade homework, frequently asked questions, everything dealing with that grade. That would be phenomenal if we can pull that off. I know we can. And so hopefully you guys will help us fund that so we can do that. Then the last piece is teachers and this coming summer. So our teachers, especially our retired teachers, we want to make certain that they don't feel thrown to the side, not important, not needed. So all of the teachers, retired teachers, as well as teachers who don't work during the summer, we invite you in. We will have stipends available so you can help us with the 16 blocks outdoor education we want to do in neighborhoods. I'll give you more information about it later, but just know that it's all about outdoors and it's block by block, and you're gonna win, have a little stipend money to go along with that. Now let's switch gears here. Let's talk about the health. Before I go into the health, I just want to make sure Black people know this because this is a frustrator for me. We have the Commercial Farmers Union. Um, they want $9 billion in compensation. Af Afra Afroform. All right. This is the white farmers in South Africa and Zimbabwe wanting to be compensated for going and invading another country and creating something. In this case, it's produce. Think about the arrogance of a people, any type of people, who would go to someone else's territory and make money off it and then want to be compensated. Think of the arrogance of that type of spirit. And that's what we're dealing with in South Africa, Zimbabwe, and sub-Sahara Africa. And this commercial farmers union is a structure, a legal organization that wants to be compensated. Now, blacks in the US is too focused on survival right now, but it's important that our structure, because we link to 20 countries in Africa, make you aware. The best thing you can do right now, and we can do right now, is continue to recruit and let us know who you know that's in any of our African countries. Get their information over to us, 312-405-8844. Drop your 100 pennies in. Know that Pennies to Africa is a long-term key for us. And if you have anyone that's in the diplomatic circles, link them to us as well. We will have our Africa unit that'll take more decisive action, and we just need your financing, which would be the 100 pennies. The other piece is with this type of group, we understand that whoever controls the food controls the people. So that's a problem all by itself, that the U.S. have participated in buying produce from these farmers. And part of what they did in Botswana was they asked European countries, especially Australia, not to buy farming vegetables from Africans. So a racist, totally racist process all over again. And if you white in South Africa, um, you should really, really look at how wrong that is, that you have people in South Africa struggling and you're not struggling, and you don't, you know, you don't belong there. And if you say you belong there, the challenge is your ancestors who did come before you, what did they do to be there? There's so much wrong there and so much forgiveness that need to be asked for what's happened to the continent of Africa at the hands of people from Europe. And I don't think it's no way around that. As Joe Biden said on January 19th, we must remember in order to heal. Let's talk about COVID. So my 2 cents on COVID, if you guys ask, my 2 cents on COVID is this. At the end of the day, whether you take the vaccine or not, um, you will die. I will die. Death is inevitable. The question is, how do you want to live? There's 86,400 seconds every day, 31.5 million seconds from birthday to birthday. How you live, and hopefully you're living a life where you are helping others, that you feel whole in knowing that your struggles is better than and not as bad as someone else's. So that means you're putting others ahead. You're not wallowing in your own pity. You're not saying woe is me, because there's always someone worse off than you. But I understand that that comes from people traveling and being exposed to gain an appreciation on your seconds and knowing how to maximize time. Every second is a gift, the people around you. So I just want to make sure that people know you will transition. So the question is how you want to live. And from a health perspective, it's not too much to ask for people to socially distance, not to go and visit everyone right now. Give it time. It's almost like people are so microwave, so instant gratification, that they won't even give it time for us to get this thing in a better position. So let's go through these numbers again. You heard my roll call in 60612 zip code. Uh, they had 2919, what 2,639 COVID cases in November. I mean, in December, it went up to 2,919. So they had 280 cases. That's the lowest. That's the second lowest on the west side. North Lawndale, they had 8,894 cases, went up to 9,732. That's 832 more cases. Garfield Park had 2446. It went up to 2702. That's 256 cases. That's the lowest on the west side. The highest on the west side is 60639 zip code. They had 11,396. It went up to 12,683. Over 1,285 new cases. That's the second most in the whole 20 zip code structure. Then in 60644 3110 in last month, 3496 this month. That's 386 cases. 60651 had 5904 in December, went up to 6597. That's 693 cases. Altogether, 3,737 new cases of COVID in the 30 days and on the west side. 60609 zip code had 5597 in December. It went up to 6191, 594 new cases. 60620 had 3767. It went up to 4294. That's 527 new cases. Inglewood 60621 had 1662 in December. Went up to 1863 this month. That's 201 new cases. That's the lowest on the south side. Then 60628 had the highest in all 20 zip codes at 13,658 cases in December. It went up to 15,225 cases. That's 1,567 new cases of COVID. And 629, which is Gage Park, Marquette Park, and West Lawn. 60636 zip code, West Inglewood had 2413 in December, went up to 2673. That's 260 cases. And the last one on the south side, 60653 zip code, had 4007, went up to 4,540 new cases. That's 533 cases. Altogether on the south side, 3,682 new cases compared to the west side, 3,739 new cases. So they had just a few less south side. The last side is the east side of Chicago, 60615 zip code. That's President Obama's zip code when he's here. They had 1603 in December, went up to 1816. So they had 213 new cases. Then you have 60617 zip code, 5862 in December, went up to 6634 in January, 772 new cases. Chatham 60619 had 3187, went up to 3571. That is 384 new cases. Roseland 60628 had 3664, went up to 4133. That's 469 new cases. Woodlawn 60637 had 2357. It went up to 2654. That's 296 new cases. 60643 Washington Heights had 3122 in December, went up to 3594. That's 472 new cases. Then 60649 South Shore had 2396 new cases. It went up to 2696, 300 even new cases. And final one is Bronzeville 60653, 1857, went up to 2075 for 218 new cases. Altogether, they had 3,125 new cases, which is lower, and is on top of that is 2 extra zip codes. So the east side of Chicago is doing way better than both the south side as well as the west side from a COVID standpoint. Altogether, we had 10,546 new cases in Black Chicago in the last month. We had in I'm not gonna do the states because I only had the whole states, not just our sister cities. But what I will say from a state perspective, the worst state in the union is California. And California has altogether 3.1 million people in the state with COVID. That is the highest. Washington, D.C. is the lowest at 34,612. So from 34,612 to 3.1 million, you see the difference between the lowest and the highest. And the deaths is 864 deaths in D.C. compared to California's 35,701 people dead. Pretty bad, you guys. So that's the state. So that's not our cities. That's the whole state. Let me switch to Africa. I do want to go through all the Africa ones because we got our superstar Aishola watching from Nigeria right now. So we have Ghana. Ghana had 59,480 cases, 361 deaths. 361 deaths. 361. Senegal, 23,909. They had 552 deaths. Sierra Leone, 3,081. That's very low. Only 77 deaths reported. Nigeria, 117,000. 1,485 deaths. We had Cote d'Ivoire, 25,741, 142 deaths. Western Sahara, stopped reporting. Last reporting was 67 and one death. So on the western side of Africa, it appears Nigeria is the worst when it comes to COVID. People tested positive for COVID as well as deaths. You go to the Horn of Africa, the middle of Africa. Ethiopia has 132,000 people. 2,057 died already. Egypt has 160,000 people, where 8,801 died. Sudan had 26,779, 1,603 died. Djibouti had 5,916 with 61 dying. You had Somalia with 4,744, 130 died. Then you had Kenya, which is 99,630, 1,739 have died. So when you look at this on the Horn of Africa, east side part of Africa, you have Egypt at 8,801. Then we move to the last region, Congo, 20,692, 630 people have died. Tanzania said they're COVID free. So their numbers is 509 affected, 21 have died. Angola, 19,177 affected, 448 died. This is the highest in all of Africa. Another place where blacks aren't free, or where other groups are in our neighborhood, just like Egypt. 1.3 million people have it. 39,501 have died. I'll be interested to see where those blacks or whites that died that's been affected. Zimbabwe, 30,047 affected, 917 dead. Botswana, 19,654 affected, 105 dead. We have Zambia, 42,213 affected, 596 dead. Nambia, 31,515 with 310 dead. A total of 59,538 people since last month have died from COVID. Not since the beginning, so since February, so almost a year, 59,000. Keep in mind, California got 35,000 dead already, and that's from the beginning as well. So the state of California is the highest in America compared to 59,000 for 20 different countries in the continent. All right, this will be made available to you guys later. It will be on my Facebook page as well. So now I got 2 minutes over. Let me take a break, and then we're going to come back and get into policy and legal. Thank you. All right, everyone. I am back. Thank you guys for sticking here. 2 hours is a while, so I appreciate those who are staying the whole way. For others, we got truck drivers who be on the road, so for them, they could just let it play and keep on moving and earn money while they're doing it. So now we want to switch gears and talk about policy and the legal. This is team number 2 and team number 4. Thank you guys for sticking. I keep forgetting to take that off of mute there. So here we want to talk about what policies do Black people need and want to see. The Latino community, for instance, they know they want to see immigration. That's something that kind of unifies them. What is ours? I believe the closest thing we have is reparations. However, that is, I won't say far fetched. It's gaining more traction than it ever has. But to me, um, there's some internal things we need to do first. That's what I would say. But I would support, sign petitions, donate money. I do whatever they're asking to move the agenda forward the way they see it. But from a policy standpoint, criminal justice is one that affects everyone, but of course, disproportionately it affects us. So I'm okay with policies dealing with how do we get police forces to. I'm not a big fan of training. I believe we need to weed out those people who have a history and track record in terms of training. I don't know how you train someone to see a person as a human being, but you can talk about it. So I guess more discussions about it will help. What I think needs to happen from a policy standpoint is similar to the construction. Ron Carter in Chicago has talked about this. The makeup of the community should be the makeup of the police, makeup of the construction dollars that come in the community. So what that means is it needs to be equity and it needs to be proportionate based on the taxpayers from that jurisdiction. Why would Gary, Indiana, 80% black town, have 90% whites doing the construction work? That just don't make sense. You bring it outsiders in to do work insiders should be doing. And if they're not qualified to do it, then the question is why? And what can we do to get them qualified? Because do we just stick with the same model and every time construction money come, we give it to the 90% that don't live there? Doesn't make sense. So to me, that equity from construction need to be in place, from policing need to be in place. So we stop having the exploitation with other people coming in our neighborhood and controlling the resources. I think is way past overdue from that. We also have some laws on the book. This is why our team 8 comes in. As we need to look at these laws that's on the books that need to be uh, removed. Bottom line, and this is a project that we can have law students work on, so we can just for all of our neighborhoods and blocks, the legal blocks in each of our neighborhoods can have what the action items are, so they'll know what to push, talk about, promote, and donate toward. So I think that's important. The report cards on politicians. Every second Friday is report card day for elected officials. We want to create an atmosphere where the politicians feel like they're going to have um, monthly feedback. So that way they would never be caught off guard longer than 30 days of how they're performing, and they'll have a paper trail. This makes it easier so that every 4 years we're not starting over with the last person who did something for us, and that's who we vote for. So they could do 3 years of messing up, 1 year giving you free stuff, and then you forget about the 3 years where it was all about them. So the every second Friday allows us to take turns in sharing our feedback on performance based on politicians. So this is a pillar of National Black Code University. We've been pushing that, talking about that for a long time. So I just wanted to make sure those who never heard of us would know that that's a big deal to us, is these evaluations on these politicians. Let me say this for those who might not be as savvy politically. The way government is set up, of course, you got legislative branch. They make laws. They're the ones who create what we can and cannot do, the legislative branch. Then you have the executive branch, and the executive branch executes on what the legislative branch creates. This form of government keeps government in your hands practically, meaning if your local alderman, local representative is local, that means you have access to tell him or her what you think your tax dollars should be used for, or promoted. That keeps government right next to you. So that's the design of it. Then the executive branch job is to do it, carry it out, take all the tools given to them by the legislative branch and execute on it. Then the judicial branch is the one to take a step back, look at everything that's happening, what laws was made, the execution of it, and put it into context and say continue or stop. So that's the judicial process and what it does. So those three branches is phenomenal. I give the creators, the framers that credit. That's beautiful, the way it's set up. And Black people in this day and age are primed to do a better job with that. Now, the way state houses work and city halls is this. There's committees. We in the two-party system. So you might have a person running for office who might not be well trained, well versed, who don't know that anything that he or she wants to do will have to go through committee. And if your party isn't in the ruling party, then it might not get out of committee. And if it don't get out of committee, it can never get the light of day to be voted on. And if you're naive, not knowing that, you will make these promises on what you're going to do, but legally, the way it's structured, you wouldn't be able to do it. So what I want to make sure Black people know is a lot of our politicians at the local level are followers. Too many of them are followers. They follow what the party chairperson tells them to do. This is the real person that pulled the purse strings, the chairperson. There are chair people over the committee. So if I want to get a traffic light installed on a certain block, it goes to the traffic committee. If I propose this ordinance and I put it up, but the committee chairperson is someone that don't like me, they cannot even bring it up for discussion in the committee of 8 people. If it don't get discussed and voted on out of the committee, never makes it to the floor where all the members, 200 members, 180 members can give their 2 cents to it. So I just want us to know these politicians, unless they're chairpersons of committees and of parties, they're not in position to enact what they want to enact without negotiation, without quid pro quo. They had to give up a little bit. So I just want to make sure we know that, so we don't be naive thinking that this politician can go down there and do whatever they want when they want to do it. It's still a good old boys network, and we had to be smart about how we play that game when it comes to politics. Next month, what I hope to do in February when it comes to policy is we'll have our own teams 1 through 8, what we want to see happen for the Biden administration, and we're going to make sure it goes to those committee chairpersons, but we CC the commander in chief, which is Joe Biden, so he'll know these are the things that we say is important to us. Last thing that I want to talk about is voter registration. Stacey Abrams here lost the governorship in Georgia a couple of years ago, and lost it with some very illegal stuff to me, what happened with Brian Kemp and conflicts of interest and all that stuff. But the bottom line is getting people registered to vote makes sense. It's another form of ID, paper trail, that type shows you're a civic person. But we need to help reduce and remove barriers to getting people registered to vote. One of the challenges with people getting out of jail is not having ID. ID is needed to get a lot of things done. So we will be in the coming early months focusing on how to make it easier for people to get IDs. That's some, again, policymakers should be looking at to help us figure out a way to take that one barrier out the toolbox of people who don't want to see people exercise their version of their rights. So that covers policy and legal. Like I say, next month in February, you're going to see me spending more time talking about the actual proposals that we have for that. The last one is legal, and then we go get into summary in 7 minutes. So let me take a break. We come back, we will go to the legal part, and we'll go from there. Okay, thank you. All right, everyone. Your host, Cy Smith, coming back to you. Today is the fourth Saturday of the month. We have 5 Saturdays this month. So next Saturday is January 30th. Now, where I left off at was legal. I want to talk about legal. And then we got the open session. I'm going to introduce this last name solution during the open session here. So in December, from a legal perspective, we talked about a petition to remove the barriers to home ownership in Illinois and find reps in Georgia, Indiana to do the same thing. And what we meant by the legal barriers to home ownership, a lot of our people, especially the males coming out of the system, they can't live in anything dealing with government housing. We have Cy Lewis, one of our gurus, who know about how Section 8 can be used to get people off government and it'll help pay for them to get into their own housing. This is an area that need to be promoted big time, and we need to create the supply chain to help people get out of their houses. But there are some restrictions there based on your previous record, and I understand that as well. Again, we need to bring it up, have people get their thoughts on it, and then move with the majority. January, we want to talk about water bills and surprises when it comes to water bills. So we want to make sure, just like they're talking about no medical surprises, you go in, then you get billed for something you didn't know they were going to bill you for. So we want to make sure that there's no water surprises, meaning you have a leak, you don't know about the leak. Next, you know, you get a $2,000 bill. So something that allows them to detect leaks so that they can tell if this isn't your normal usage, they will alert you. But all this technology is like no reason not to have something like that. But that's something, again, legislatively, we want to get ready and present. LaShawn Ford is a state rep out of Illinois, my blood brother, and we want to make certain that we maximize his uh, seniority inside the State House of Illinois. Then we have what's new, Team 8, which is our legal team. We want to create something that discourages for-profit industries from making money, um, profiting off of um, fees, late fees, I should say. We understand service fees that should be managed, but late fees. Because what happens is if we don't manage that, you will have companies that will help ensure that you're late. For instance, they would text you a reminder after the fee has been assessed. That should be illegal. You know, you could have texted me before, not wait till after. So that's one of those things. So just having that written out, spelled out in the ordinance would be key. And for the other piece is this can encourage companies and build up so much revenue that then they don't want to let it go. Banks are a key example. The bounce check fees, they made $2 trillion in 1 year off of that. So why would they give up the $34 bounce check fee? So we need legislation to control that to ensure that we're not encouraging banks using the economic plight of people to make tons of money. So that's something we'll look at. The last piece to this is when you think about fees and if they want to charge it to discourage people being late, we get that. But why not use those fees then instead of it hitting the bottom line of the company and their shareholders? Why not use that to give back to the zip code for the youth and senior programs to pay the seniors' bills if they're behind? Who, when you think about a senior, they've lived, paid taxes, retired, and now they might be on a fixed income. So anything we can do to help them is a help to society. So why not let the fees of these big companies go to help the seniors and help the youth? They're our future. So I think those are two things that if we could put legislation behind, that'd be key to making things a little bit more whole and better. All right, so that's it for the legal. Instead of taking a break, because I just came back, I'm gonna jump right into open session. I'm right on time. Finally, I caught up, so it's 4:40. This is open session. So under open session, I want to go back to what I started with when I named to you guys the last name solution. And I was saying why every 6 months matters so much. So I want to go into a little detail here and I want to spell out why hopefully you guys will see value in this twice a year request we're asking. I'm gonna read to you the people who should care about this last name solution the most. Then I'm gonna read to you who we're asking to help during what months, and I'm gonna go through each one of these. So it's 8 of them. So bear with me. Let me see how much time we got. So yeah, we got time. So we got 10 minutes. So I'm gonna go through as quickly as I can. So anyone who's an artist or a book author or vendor, artist, book author, or vendor, you should listen carefully at this. We're asking every January and July, last names A through E, to perform, to take action this month. To be particular, anyone who last names begins with Banks, Barnes, or Baxters. Banks, Barnes, and Baxters. We're searching for you big time this whole month if you're an artist, author, or a vendor, because this is your month to buy tickets, buy books. This is your month. So that means for 5 months you've been waiting on what can I do? What can I do? Now we come saying this is what you can do. Buy books and tickets. Here are the artists, authors, and vendors in your zip code for you to support. So if you're an artist, author, or vendor, and you don't get new business from Banks, Barnes, and Baxters, this failed. This failed. This didn't work. On this one document, it has next month who these artists, authors, and vendors should expect to finance and purchase books and tickets from them. Anyone last name Halls, Hardys, or Harrises. That's every February and August. In March, we know who we want to support them. That's the Macons, Marshalls, and McFaddens. That's every March and September. Every April and October, the Randalls, the Reddicks, and the Richmonds. Every May and November, the Tates and Taylors. Then every June and December, the Walkers and Wares. So me and my wife had this debate earlier. She said, "Well, I don't know anyone with those last names, so ain't nothing for me to do." And I said, "Okay, where did you search when you say you don't know anyone?" And she only searched Twitter. Said you got to search Facebook, you got to search Instagram. You had to see value in this in order to really be motivated to do it. And that allowed us to talk about this second part. If you have a Banks, Barnes, Baxter, or anyone last name A through E, and you do not introduce them to this concept, this is what you're doing. In any of your people A through E lives, they're probably overworked, overwhelmed. They probably are super busy, especially with COVID, Zoom after Zoom after Zoom. They're working harder. Here you get to come in and say, hey, we have a process where you're going to have 10 months of loving on yourself, treating your own trauma, only 2 months of all this activism stuff. So think about it. You can come to the people you love, your customers, and say 10 months off, 2 months on, and watch how you get the same amount of work done and then some more. Because when you come into this system, this network, you're going to meet other people. You're going to meet other people with your same last name who care about supporting this bigger picture. So I just went through I went through all the last names associated with buying tickets and books. Next, all the activists and investigators. These are the people, we call them team 2. They push accountability. So last names Caldwell, Carter, Chapman is this month. So when we say someone is missing, I'm looking up for my Caldwells, Carters, and Chapmans this month. Next month, someone come up missing, I'm looking for the Godleys, the Goldsmiths, and the Gordons. Someone come up missing in March, I'm looking for the Nances. Someone come up missing in April, the Phillips. Someone come up missing in May or November, I'm looking for anyone who last names begin with the letters UA all the way through UG. If somebody come up missing in June, I'm looking for all the Zayers, because those are the last names specifically assigned to being out there protesting and doing reports or evaluations on people. And these are the people who we don't have to bug them for 6 months. That is why we can count on them, because it relaxes them to not having to be overly busy. Then we have the safety minded people. These are the people who are out worrying about these carjackings. These are the people worried about the shootings, the killings. So these are people who want help with patrols. They want help with people who's going to walk around the neighborhood. So these last names, now remember, the whole month is A through E, but these are the particular last names on the patrol side. Anyone who last name is Edwards, Ellis's, and Evans. Edwards, Ellis's, and Evans is this month. So when I told you earlier today with the patrols around the gas stations because of the carjackings, if I was to talk to anyone that was out there patrolling, one of the questions I would want to know is their last name. And if their last name isn't A through E, I would say this probably isn't sustainable. They probably not going to do this long term because they got to go back to their way of life, what they've been doing. But if their last name was A through E and it was part of some bigger coordination, then you can have more confidence that this is doable. This is practical over a long period of time because it's only twice a year. That is much more doable than asking someone to do something every day. And so that's what I mean by something that's systematized versus something that's individualized. And so Edwards, Ellis's, and Evans this month and July. Irving's, Jackson's, and Jordan's next month and in August. Odom's in March and in September. Porter's in April and Portis's in April and October. The Stewarts, the Smiths, the Sullivans in May and in November. And the Youngs in June and December. You see how that covers A through Z from this standpoint on who we can count on to be physically out there engaging people. No burnout because it's just twice a year. Let me speed up because we only got 3 minutes and I got to go through a lot of these. Who donates to K through 12th grade awards? This is Team 4, our education people. So these are parents, professionals, and regular people who want to put money behind the youngsters. Last names Davis's, Debonnays, and Duns this month, January and July. Kelly's, Kemp's, and King's next month in February, and then again in August. Owens and Overton's in March, and then again in September. Pataz, Pulliam's in April and October. Sellers and Shaw's in May and in November, and Xavier's in June and December. If these groups say I'm in, then that means our children have money every single month, January through December, just by these groups saying I'm in. That's how potent this is and powerful and beautiful that is. If you into any working with your hand trade or skill, if you're a tailor, seamstress, or auto mechanic, this is for you. Pay for repairs. Even if you don't need a tire fixed, pay for someone else's tire to be fixed. Even if you don't need your porch rebuilt, pay for someone else. We got to spread love. That's the goal. And here are the last names every month who we can count on. So if you're a seamstress, tailor, mechanic, you should want to see these last names step up because that means more money to you. Anyone last name Bishop, Carter's, and Chapman's, we're asking you to pay for the repairs of someone else. Uh-oh, Chapman's in there twice. That's a problem. All right, I'll come back and fix that. Let's go to next month. Hayden's and Henderson's every February and in August. In March and September, the McLarens, the Middletons, and the Mitchells. In April, the Richards and Riddles. In May, the Thompsons. May and November, the Thompsons. And in June and December, it's the Williams. So again, if you are any trade skill like that, you should want to see this work because this means that you're going to have more people putting money into your neighborhood. We want to see eventually our auto mechanics club. We want to see them get an old car, used car, fix it up, and give it away every month. We want to give away 12 cars a year, and that's something that again the Haydens, Hendersons, the McLarens, the Mitchells, they're paying for the repairs will allow someone to get a free car every single month in a hardship situation. All right, then we have, because I'm at the 10-minute mark, I'm not gonna be able to finish. So we just have all together 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 more to go. Not gonna be able to get through it, but the bottom line is this: A through E is this month, and last year, we met 176 new people throughout the whole year. Every month, we know how many new people we met. We're asking our 108 meetings a month to just ask the people in the meeting, one person in the meeting, to give you one person last name A through E this month. If they did that, we would have 108 new people this month. That don't mean these people are gonna like us, do the $12 or anything, but at least we have 108 opportunities to engage people, find out what they do, get them aligned, and hopefully get the $12 from them. 108 people this month. So if we do that every month, we got over 1,200 people a year versus the 176 all of last year. So I just want to make it clear to you guys why this last name solution, A through E, is such a big deal And if we can get just one, it'll be significant. So I wanted to put that out there to you guys. So last at this point, I was supposed to be talking about the conventions. Gary, Indiana was made convention city for us on purpose because we need it a reason to boost the economy in a city that's majority black, Gary, Indiana. And this gives us just that. It's the reason for us to build up Gary, Indiana on the real estate side that's going to help on the construction side. So here's the way the conventions are set up. I can show you guys some of them. This month, it kicked off with the Auto Mechanics Convention. Auto Mechanics Convention. That was January 2nd through the 4th. Um, I read to you the region. So you got Miami, Birmingham, New Orleans region, Detroit, St. Louis, Milwaukee region. In each of these cities, the goal when COVID is over is for them to send a delegation to the convention. So think about Miami, Birmingham, New Orleans coming to Gary, Indiana, Detroit, St. Louis, Milwaukee coming to Gary, Indiana, Dallas and Memphis coming to Gary, Indiana. Who are some of the sponsors we want for this? Well, because it's auto mechanics, now you got AutoZone, Advanced Auto, you got Pep Boys, you got these major corporations that I'm gonna tell you, since I was doing the research, I've been amazed seeing what towns these places are headquartered in. And that's gonna allow us to tap into corporate America and say, don't give money to the same groups talking about Black Lives Matter. You'll be creating gaps. You can fill the gaps by giving it to a grassroots approach where they go door to door, and that's what we do. So this was the first weekend of the month. The second one was the U.S. Farming Convention. U.S. Farming Convention. That was January 8th through the 11th. Then that was followed up with the Missing Persons, not convention, but Missing Persons Summit, 3-day summit. That was January 15th to the 17th. Excuse me. Then it closed out today with the U.S. Pet Convention, which is as you can see here, the 22nd to the 24th. And again, our regions, Miami, Birmingham, and New Orleans, Detroit, St. Louis, they're pet lovers in each of them towns. Now they have a convention to be organized in and come to every single year. And if they align with what we're trying to get done, now they're going to buy real estate because they have a reason to come north. They're not just going to stay in Louisiana. They're not just going to stay in Georgia. They're going to come up. So this is what that does. I want to go through the other ones real quick here. So this is February. So we actually had January 30th, then it's February. So let's go through what February looks like. We're going to kick it off with U.S. Black History Convention. And we have a deal right now with the African American news journals where we're donated $10 for every $40 book that's sold. $10 come to support making your neighborhood safer when you buy this book. So Google African American Historical News Journal and order that book, put in code NBCU, National Block Club University, NBCU, so we can get that $10 credit. That's going to help us to help your neighborhood. The next Saturday after the African American History one is the Photography Convention, which is February 2nd to the 14th. That's Valentine's Day for those people who believe that. Then we have the U.S. Entrepreneurs Convention, which is going to be all the businesses that may not have traditional brick front storefronts. So these are nail salons. These are the people that sell seasoning, vendors, people of that nature. So we're going to have them together, insurance salespeople, all of them here at the U.S. Entrepreneurs Convention, February 19th to the 21st. Then we're going to close out the month with the Outdoor Fishing Convention. So think about the sponsors of this. Think about those major corporations outdoors, that can become sponsors of this, and that creates excitement. And Gary, Indiana, justifies all the vibrancy we're going to create in that town, Gary, Indiana, which is right outside Chicago. Each one of these conventions have a Chicago. I'll show you the backside. It has a Chicago welcoming committee because they'll probably come through O'Hare Midway. So these are the people that welcomes them. Then it has a Gary host committee that's made up of the people in Gary, Indiana. So we're building out this whole apparatus because travel is going to become the second biggest job creator for Black people in America. And this is just one component of it. So we're going to start in March, and this will be the last one. So March 5th through the 7th is our U.S. Nursing Convention. There are T-shirts on our website where you can get. The second weekend is the U.S. Dentists and Doctors Convention, March 12th to the 14th. March 19th to the 21st is the U.S. Africa Convention. So all of our superstars that are here from the continent convening together is huge. Then the last one for March is the U.S. Science Convention. We talk about STEM all the time. So this here is a part of that. It's March 26th to the 28th. And again, a host committee out of Gary, a welcoming committee out of Chicago. That's Chicago, Gary working together, people getting into real estate so that way they have a reason to come and have a place to stay. This is a big deal for Black people here in the country. Now, should have took a break, but I'm just gonna close this out here. The next summit will be in February, the fourth Saturday in February. The fourth Saturday in February is the next summit. It's going to be last names F through K. So this month is A through E. Next month is F through K. Fourth Saturday in February. I don't have the date right in front of me right here, but the purpose of this is so I can give you guys an update on everything that we touch from here to Africa and hopefully get you guys inspired. After listening to all of this, if you haven't donated your $12 for the year, please do so. You can do it on the website, www.nationalblockclubuniversity.com. You can Cash App it, Cash App SYRON, cash symbol, dollar symbol SYRON, or Zelle Quick Pay at Cyron Smith at yahoo.com. That's SYRONSMITH at yahoo.com. So any of those electronic ways, or PayPal through our website, or your Cash App. Either way it go, the quicker we get money in, the quicker we hire people to get all of this work done. And the quicker we start to see vibrant neighborhoods, we start to see your network get stronger and more people involved. So thanks for watching, you guys.